All right, let's talk about a tough spot that almost every business in the hospitality industry faces. We're talking about the off-season. You know, when the rooms are empty and the demand just dries up. This is where managers have to make some really high-stakes decisions. And honestly, the choices you make in these lean times, they're often what separates a business that makes it from one that doesn't. So today, we are going to dissect the anatomy of costs to show you how a really clear understanding of your expenses is probably the most powerful tool you have for survival.
So I want you to picture this. You're managing a beautiful resort, but it's the rainy season. The place is practically a ghost town. Demand has totally fallen off a cliff, your cash flow is going in the wrong direction, and every single empty room feels like you're just burning money. So what do? You really have two stark choices. Do you shut down completely to stop the bleeding, or do you slash your prices way down just to try and get anyone in the door and generate some kind of revenue? This isn't just about pricing. It's a huge strategic decision with massive financial consequences.
And this isn't just some textbook thought experiment, right? This is real life. The source material we're looking at mentions a resort like Panjang Lezong, and they face this exact problem year after year. The choice they make here can literally determine if their business stays afloat. It dictates whether they can survive the slow months and be ready to cash in when the peak season finally rolls around again.
So, what's the right call? Well, the thing is, this decision shouldn't be based on a gut feeling or just hoping for the best. The real answer is quantitative. It's sitting right there in your financial records, in your ledger. You just have to know how to read it, how to analyze your cost structure to find the solution. Okay, so to solve this puzzle, the very first thing we have to do is classify every single expense your business has. We're going to sort them all into one of two fundamental categories. Think of it like having two big buckets. This simple act of sorting is the critical first step. It's what brings clarity to the chaos.
So here they are, our two buckets, fixed costs and variable costs. The difference between them is incredibly simple, but it is so profound. Fixed costs? They stay the same no matter how busy you are. Whether you have 1 guest or 100 guests, you're paying them. Variable costs, on the other hand, move in direct proportion to your business activity. You get more guests, those costs go up. Getting this distinction right is the absolute foundation for everything that follows.
Let's start with that first bucket. These are the expenses you just can't get away from. We're talking about the fixed costs that your business has to pay no matter what. So what is a fixed cost? Simply put, it's an expense you have to pay even if you have 0 guests, 0 customers, 0 activity. Now, in the short run, economists have a special name for these. They call them sunk costs. And that's a perfect name for them because that money is already committed. It's gone. It's sunk. You can't get it back no matter what you decide to do today. And trying to make back a sunk cost, that's a classic trap in business decision-making. And you see these everywhere in a real business. Let's think about that resort. The mortgage payment on the land, that's due every month, regardless of occupancy. The insurance premium for the hotel has to be paid. Your general manager's salary, that's a constant expense. Even things that aren't cash, like the depreciation of your big laundry machines, that happens whether they're running full tilt or sitting idle. These are all classic fixed costs. And this right here highlights why fixed costs are so dangerous. When you hit that off-season and your revenue just plummets, these unavoidable expenses keep coming. They create this constant drain on your cash flow, just eating away at your company's financial reserves.
Okay, so we've looked at the rigid, stubborn nature of fixed costs. Now, let's turn to the other side of the coin, that second bucket, variable costs. And these behave in a completely different way. These are your variable costs. And just like the name says, they vary. They change directly with your level of business. And the logic here is beautiful in its simplicity. If you have 0 guests, these costs drop all the way to 0. They only pop up when you actually make a sale or serve a customer.
The examples here are super intuitive, right? The cost of eggs and bacon for the breakfast buffet, well, you only have to buy that for the guests who are actually there to eat it. The electricity for the air conditioning in a room is only used when someone is staying in that room. Little things like soap and shampoo are consumed per stay, and often you'll hire casual workers based on how busy you expect to be. The pattern is clear. There's a direct, per-customer relationship between the guest and the cost.
Okay, let's pause for a second. We've now sorted all of our costs into our two buckets, the rigid fixed costs and the much more flexible variable costs. Now we can finally put these two powerful concepts together to solve that big strategic dilemma we started with.
The relationship is all defined by a super simple formula. Your total cost is just your fixed costs plus your variable costs.
But please, don't let that simplicity fool you. This is way more than just an accounting equation. This is a powerful strategic guide for making smart decisions.
And this simple formula leads us to the single most important strategic takeaway for surviving the off-season. You ready for it? Here's the rule. A business should stay open and accept any price as long as that price is greater than the variable cost of serving that customer. This is the absolute key to minimizing your losses, which in the off-season is the same as maximizing your profit.
So let's break down the logic here, because it's so important. Step 1. Remember, your fixed costs are sunk. You have to pay them whether you open your doors or not. So let's imagine a customer comes along and is willing to pay, say, $50 for a heavily discounted room. Now, what's the variable cost to that room? The electricity, the little soaps, the cleaning, let's say it all adds up to $15. Well, that $50 easily covers the $15 variable cost. And the extra $35? That's called a contribution margin. And that $35 goes directly toward paying down your fixed costs, like your mortgage. And let's be clear, getting a $35 contribution towards your mortgage is way, way better than getting zero. And you know, this principle goes way beyond just hotels. It applies to airlines with empty seats, restaurants with empty tables, even software companies with huge upfront development costs. And that leads me to a final big strategic question that I want you to think about. In your own business or in your industry, what is your single biggest fixed cost? And more importantly, is there any innovative, creative way you could turn even a part of that fixed cost into a variable one? Because answering that question, that's the mark of a manager who isn't just surviving, but is setting themselves up for long-term success.